Okay.
We all have seen it, maybe on the playground, maybe in the classroom, maybe in the comfort of your room, your computer, or your phone. Today I will be taking a stand against bullying and the lack of federal law to address it. I choose bullying because I am passionate about stopping this often ignored act that leads to suicide, school shootings, further victimization, and domestic violence. Teachers can see it happen, but they just often ignore it. Internet companies know about cyberbullying and just let it happen. So it is up to the victim to fend for him or herself. Unfortunately for some of them, the way to stop it is to take their lives. There's no law that makes us mandated reporters for like child abuse. My stand today is make us mandated reporters. In the last decade, the U.S. witnessed a new phenomenon among the youth in America, a spike in bully-rated suicides among teens and preteens as well as young adults. Currently, what often happens in response to cyberbullying cases is something close to nothing. First, let's listen to some statistics. A Consumer Reports survey conducted in the U.S. in early 2011 reveals the following shocking statistic. 1 million children were harassed, threatened, or subjected to other forms of cyberbullying on Facebook in the past year. According to the Cyberbullying Research Center, approximately 20% of students report experienced cyberbullying in their lifetimes. I feel that people say like online extremely vicious stuff that they would never say in person. And there's like a thing that's called modern bullying, and now it's cyberbullying. And like cyberbullying is so much more destructive to someone's like psychological thinking, because someone can say, oh, such and such is like, you know, fill in the blank. And then if you say it online, the whole school can read it that night. If you only say it to that person, it's only whoever she tells in between the groups. So cyberbullying is like a huge issue. According to the Center of Disease Control and Prevention, for youth between the ages of 10 and 24, suicide is the third leading cause of death. It results in approximately 4,400 lives lost each year. The National Institution for Mental Health reported that between 15 to 25 victims of bullying commit suicide each year. In general, victims of bullying often experience depression, isolation, low self-esteem, lack of hope, fear, insecurity, and violent or self-destruction behavior. Second, in terms of law, currently there is no federal law addressing it. There is 46 states that have some type of bullying law. The only states that don't have is Hawaii, Michigan, Montana, and South Dakota. And these bullying laws don't do much. Like, I went to the police station and like checked out a few things, and if I or someone was being harassed online, there's no law. The police cannot go to the house if they know who's doing it. There's just nothing. And I feel like it's such a huge issue that people that know who's bullying that person or doing it online, since it's going to stay there forever, should get a misdemeanor, a felony. Something should happen so people stop. It's just ridiculous. And the problem, none of the states make bullying a mandated reporting act, which means that most, if not all, observers, stand buyers will not report it and will often ignore it. In fact, cyberbullying is even harder to fight, as internet companies often ignore victims' pleas for even as perpetrators continue to post. And people say like, oh, it's freedom of speech, I can say whatever I want, and then like that's what they use. But why would you say like really mean things about people? Like, what does that do for you? And third, the United States does not currently have a law addressing bullying as a federal act. In contrast, in 1974, Congress enacted the Child Abuse Prevention and Treatment Act, establishing a legal framework to make those working with children mandated reporters. There are no guidelines in place for bullying. A law like the law like the mandated child abuse, like how if you witness child abuse you have to report it. I feel like it should be the same law for cyberbullying, because you know we take our lives, do a bunch of destructive things. A law would make observers, bystanders such as teachers, coaches, internet site providers, etc., mandated reports, thus forcing them to act to protect bullying victims. In conclusion, it is time for our federal government to act. It is time for the courts to step in as they do in child abuse cases. It is time for bullying, cyberbullying, to be under a mandated reporting law. We need to defend the defenseless. We need to save lives against bullying. We need to be held accountable. We need to stand, because if we don't, the next victim can be your sister, your brother, your cousin, your best friend, your lover, or you.
Okay, Ace, what did you think?
I liked it. It was really good. Your voice was like strong and firm, and like you had a strong stance on your topic against bullying. But I heard like your thesis, it was like, my stance today is something. I couldn't really hear it.
Oh yeah.
But then like it came through your the rest of the speech. It was really good. You had a lot of statistics. You went and looked up the laws, and like, yeah, you had. Sorry, I don't know, whatever. Well, your conclusion was really good. Like, it was strong. The last statement was really good. Like, made it personal to us. Like, what if it was like one of your loved ones? And the only thing I could say was like, slow down a bit, and like, you kind of like stayed in one spot, just like rocked back and forth. But that's it. I really liked it.
All right. Well, I think the topics ID'd very clearly. You've got a very clear statement of what your goal is there. So we've got some idea where you're going, and there seems to be some presupposition in the opening about the ineffectiveness of the state laws, and I think you're making that generalization based on an example or an experience that you've got, and I think that needs to be developed a little bit more. If you've got cases where people have not been protected by the state laws, or there's been some issue about them, I'm not exactly sure why federal law is going to be more effective, since there's got more people that you have to cover. There are fewer resources for that, and the old saying, you're going to make a federal case out of it. Well, why is it a federal case? If there's name calling online, that's a problem. But I'm not sure that it's a problem for the FBI, and the police apparently don't think it's a problem for them. So how are we going to know that the FBI or whoever is going to be enforcing these laws is going to be any more efficient than what we have right now? And I think that's where there's a little bit of a breakdown on the argument. I think you've got a very good argument about the problem with bullying. I like the statistic that you had about the number of kids who are being bullied, especially online, and I like the data that you had that followed up with the suicides. I thought that was very effectively presented, and that there's a good link there to the number that are connected to this kind of bullying. So we know that this is a real problem. I don't think there's a problem there. The question is the inadequacy of the current laws and why a federal law would fix those kinds of things. And I think that's where you need some more development. To me, it seems like the big problem here is defining what constitutes cyberbullying that would rise to the level of an offense, whether it's cyberbullying or any kind of bullying, but you seem to be focusing primarily on the cyberbullying. So if somebody, some kid calls another kid a name online, does that rise to the level of cyberbullying? Do they have to make a threat? Does it have to be consistent? What do the laws say with all these state laws? And what would you want the federal laws to say that's different? If the state laws don't work, what is it that's going to be different about the federal law that's going to advance those kinds of things? I didn't think that your answer to the argument about it being freedom of speech is a strong enough answer. You say, well, why would somebody want to do that? The truth of the matter is, I don't understand a lot of the things that people do and why they would want to do it, but, they got a right to sleep in a tent in Wall Street, apparently. I don't understand it. Why would they want to do that? But, there's their free speech kind of thing that's going on. The idea that there isn't enough justification to not do it or to do it doesn't necessarily mitigate this complication here that you have to deal with. And I think that that's something that may be addressed by the more specific laws. Maybe the state laws have some definition or criteria, or there's